Hi, this is Christopher Holder. Welcome to Real Life. I'm coming to you live today from Kampala, Uganda, where I am on mission with some very dear friends of mine. And today I am going to be talking to you men. Now, ladies, you're welcome to stick around if you want to hear what I'm sharing with your men. And if you've got some younger dudes, you might want to preview this video just in case you need a filter or anything. But men, this is for you today. Over the last, I guess, 2 months, there's been some things that have just really been bothering me, and I want to talk to you guys about this. There was a post on Facebook, a gentleman that I sort of know, and he was throwing a party for his final, celebrating his final child support payment. And another young man that I know very well was complaining that he's not being allowed to see his daughter, even though he's paying his child support. And I know he loves his daughter. His daughter is his whole world. And so I want to talk about that a little bit as well. Then there was, this has been several years ago, it just kind of came back to me as I was seeing these posts on Facebook, where I know of a child who just didn't want to go visit dad that weekend. In particular, maybe had friends coming over, or there was a baseball practice, something like that. But his dad got upset, and I can understand that as well. The problem I had was his dad's response, and the way he put it was that it's my weekend. And that really kind of bothered me. So that's come up lately. And then most recently, there's a gentleman who, his son is grown now, he's in his mid-30s, and the man was not a part of his life when he was growing up, his childhood. Eventually, after not paying his child support for a number of years, I guess the government caught up with him or whatever, and he was trying to get sympathy, feeling sorry for himself that he has paid more in interest than he would have paid in child support if he would have paid it when he was supposed to. And it's just kind of hard to feel sorry for somebody like that, because he just didn't have anything to do with his son, much at all, while his son was a child. And so I just want to talk to you guys about these things. I want to talk to you about what child support really is. For those of you that are family men, you've got your kids with you. That's great, and I commend you for sticking to it. Relationships are tough. Being a parent is tough, and not giving up is tough. So. But for those of you that have not had kids, I want to talk to you specifically, give you the opportunity to make some good decisions. And for those of you that you've got, you've had children, they're not with you, and you're dealing with this, you're dealing with child support, I just want you to know that there's no condemnation in any of this. I want you to stick around. I want to talk to you, because whether you've been a great parent thus far, a terrible parent thus far, whatever you've done, whatever mistakes you've made, you can make a change starting today. That stuff's in the past. The future starts now. So I want you to hang out and just hear me out on some things, because you might need to change your perspective. I'm not saying it's easy. I mean, child support, it's financial. If you're struggling to make ends meet, if your ex is not cooperative, I get all that, okay? But we really, as men, need to change our culture. We need to make major changes in this world, because dads just, they're a dying breed. They're just not around. And this isn't anything new, but if we don't do something about it, eventually, these kids, they're just going to grow up like animals. Children need a father. They need a male, a positive male role model in their lives. And so just hear me out. Just hear me out. If I say something that ticks you off, well, that might be good. You might need to hear it. You might need to think about it. So just stick with me. What I want to start with is, this may seem a little stupid, but I want to just make something real clear. I want to start by explaining how babies are made. Now, I know we know this, right? But it's very simple, and I want you to just think about it, okay? In the simplest way I know how to put it. If you put your thing in her thing, then 9 months later, almost by magic, Thing Jr. is going to show up. Now, I'm not trying to be vulgar or anything. I'm just saying that's how simple it is. That's how it works, right? And the reality is that she can take a pill or get some sort of an injection. You can wrap your thing in latex and saran wrap and duct tape. None of that's necessarily going to prevent the baby. You know, even the snip operation that a guy can get, and go ahead and I'll pause for a moment while you cringe. Even then, I think it's 6 weeks or something like that afterwards, they tell you that your body could, those tunnels, those tubes could reattach. Or there could be some residual, not that you'd want to have sex immediately following that operation, but if you did, there could be, you know, residual, and you could still make a baby. I mean, so you got to think about this, guys. There's no excuses. There's no excuses. Alcohol is not an excuse. Sorry, not an excuse for you men or for you ladies, okay? It's just not. You are in control, and you do not have to have sex. It is not a requirement for your survival. I know it feels like it. Trust me. I know it feels like it is. But it's not. It is a choice. It is a choice that you have to make. And you really need to weigh the 2 minutes or maybe less for some of you guys of pleasure versus a minimum of 18 years, what should be a lifetime of a relationship with another human being that you weren't ready for, that you weren't planning on bringing into this world. So that's just kind of the hard truth. It's the hard reality, you know? And so bottom line is, I guess, you know, if you choose to have sex, you're choosing to be a father. Period. It reminds me of the athletes that, you know, superstar athletes, and they'll do something stupid. They'll get caught with drugs, or they'll beat their wives or something, and then somebody will call them out and say, you know, what about you as a role model? What about your influence on the kids? And some of these guys are like, well, I never signed up for that. Well, yeah, you did. When you chose to enter into that profession, you chose to be a role model. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. That's the choice. And the same thing with sex. If you choose to have sex, you choose to be a father. Period. End of story. Okay? I guess if you don't want that, then just stay home. Okay? And guys, you know, look, I know I'm not being super spiritual here. Well, you know, we'll get to some of that. I'm just being real with you. I'm just trying to be practical. This is the way it is. All right, I'll quit beating you up. Let's move on. I'll beat you up about something else. So this talk is not about relationships. That'll be another talk, okay? Again, if, you know, I don't know your situation. I don't know her situation. I don't know anybody watching this right now. I don't know who's watching it. And so, you know, things happen, and it's tragic. It's not God's best. He wants us to be in covenant relationship forever, family, all that. God's all about all that. But the reality is, in this messed up world that we live in, stuff happens. And so if you've been in a situation and you failed as a spouse or boyfriend or father or whatever, like I said, today is a new day. Start over. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just listen and learn, and let's make some changes that take effect right now. This talk is specifically about child support. It's about what it means, what it really is. And I believe it's 1 Timothy, I'm kind of looking at some notes that I jotted down. I think it's 1 Timothy 5:8. If you read that, especially, I think it's the King James Version, it basically says that a guy who doesn't provide for his family is no better than an infidel. Now, that's pretty harsh terms. We can kind of relate to that because we see what is going on with like Muslim extremists, terrorists, and they're referring to Jews and Christians as infidels, and they're cutting their heads off. This is actually from the Bible, the New Testament. So I'm just assuming they looked at, quote, infidels, kind of the same, a lot of disdain. It's an insult. right? Bottom line. If you don't take care of your family, and that means financially, that means emotionally, that means, in every way, basically, it says you're a dog. I'm gonna just kind of put it that way. So what is child support? Okay. Now, legally, it's whatever the judge says it is. So it's going to be some sort of financial contribution to the child's caretaking, or whatever you want to put it, whatever you want to call it. The agreement may have some component that includes visitation. But make no mistake about it, guys, the child support is not a payment or a bribe or a lease agreement so that you can have access to your child. That's a separate piece of child support. That's not the payment itself. The money that you give to the mother of your child every month is for the financial care of your child, okay? That might include a portion of a light bill. It might include groceries. It might include doctor's visits. It might include gas in the car to get them to soccer practice or whatever. But that's what that is. That has nothing to do with your visitation rights. That money doesn't pay for that, okay? If mom is giving you grief about seeing your kid, that's a separate legal issue. You need to take that back to the courts. Just like she will, if she needs more money, she's going to take you back to court, okay? And that's not the only financial contribution you're expected to make to the life of your child. When your child's with you, you better be taking them to ball games when you can afford it. And if you can never afford it, then spending a little money on a cheeseburger here and there, doing what you can, paying for the school uniforms, for the baseball jerseys or whatever it is that they need to be able to function as a normal kid in the world. And yeah, it's expensive, but again, that was your choice. Think about it ahead of time. If you haven't already gone there, and if you've gone there, it is what it is. So there's that piece to it. But child support's a lot more than just money. And child support is what you do with that child. Child support is you coaching that child and encouraging that child and never, ever saying an ugly word about that child's mother in front of him or her. You don't ever do that. Kids are smart. If mom's messed up, they'll figure it out on their own. But you do not badmouth that woman in front of that child. My wife taught me that. When we got together, she had two boys, and that was one of the first things that we came in agreement on. It was that she just didn't say any negative things about their dad in front of them. And they grow up. Kids grow up. They're smart. They figure things out. And yeah, nobody's perfect anyway. But what she would say when there were questions was, "He's doing the best he can. This is all he's got to give right now. But he's giving what he can. And he's doing what he can, and he loves you, and it didn't, the difficulties that she had directly with him, that didn't come up, not in front of the child. You just don't do that. In fact, child support's even supporting the mother emotionally to some degree, encouraging her. If she's like, wanting to go back to school, hey, that's great. If she gets into another relationship, you might want to meet the guy. You don't have any say over that, over who she dates or marries or whatever, but be a friendly, you don't have to be a friend, but be a friendly guy and be positive and encouraging. If you work a night shift and you need to work a day shift, find a way to make that happen so that you can spend as much time as possible. See if you can pick up your child from school, things like that. Give them a ride home, even on the days that aren't your time. That's all a part of what child support really is. And so, guys, I come from a broken home, and I think my dad paid child support. I don't think it was much. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know if my mom did what she was supposed to do with that money. I have no idea. I assume so. I don't recall missing too many meals. And I did get to play baseball as a kid, So I believe that my dad did his part on that, but I'd go over there until the day that I decided I wasn't going anymore. And it was the visitation thing, and I'd go over there, and basically, for the most part, it was he just ignored me, and I was stuck hanging out with my stepbrothers, who were just, and I didn't get that quality time with my dad. He would, for those of you old enough to remember Astroworld that are from Houston, he would buy me a season pass to Astroworld. He did that several years, I remember that. And he would just kind of drop me off and leave me there with a little bit of spending cash for lunch. And I enjoyed that. But I would have enjoyed it a lot more if he'd have been there with me, if we could have ridden those rides together. That's what real child support is. The financial piece is just one aspect. Real child support is being available 24/7, just as though the child were living in your home, and that's especially important in the teenage years. Your kid gets to junior high and high school and all the insanity. I mean, you guys know this isn't that far back in the past. You can remember how things get crazy. Whether you're popular or a reject, whether you did drugs or were a star athlete, stuff in school gets really messed up. And when we start going through all those hormonal changes, and then there's the girls and all this stuff, you need to be available, and you need to be available 24/7. If that kid needs somebody to reach out to, that kid's got to feel comfortable that you're the person that's going to understand, and you've got to be understanding. I remember some of the talks about drugs and stuff with my son, and he's made mistakes. He's done his thing, but he's turned out pretty good. He's I would say he hasn't done anything that most kids haven't done or anything like that. He's definitely much easier to raise than I was. But when he messed up and a couple of fairly big mistakes, he came to me, and he was probably scared. He was probably just assumed he was going to get grounded or beat or whatever. But he had the confidence to come to me, and we talked and we worked through it. And I think if you asked him, he would tell you that he was the better for it. So that's huge. So basically what real child support is just being the best dad that you can be, no matter what you've screwed up in the past, no matter what the circumstances, no matter, and guys, I don't care if she's crazy, I don't care if she's this or she's that. Whatever you can do to be a great dad, be that. If you didn't have that example in your life, I didn't have it either. Just think about what you did have in your life and, try to do the opposite. Read a book, whatever, but be the best dad that you can be. And be there for your kid. Support your child. So, like I said, I don't want to beat you guys up for anything that you've screwed up. Okay, this is going forward. I want to encourage you. If you don't have a child, think ahead. If you can't, if you're going to try to use the I drank too much excuse, then just don't drink. Okay? Just be smart. Be smart. Because kids are important. They become adults, and they will whip your butt if you don't do right by them. Or I hope they do. If you've messed up, all right. I mean, you might owe somebody an apology. You might owe the mother an apology. You might owe your child an apology. But start today, and turn things around. It's never too late. It's never too late. And if you've messed up so bad that your kid doesn't want anything to do with you, all right, start working on them, and don't give up. It's never too late. And remember, it's not your time. It's the child's time with you. Your kid is not your property. He or she is not a possession. He or she should never, ever be used as a weapon against your ex. Things like that. Just being responsible, being mature enough to, if you hate the woman, okay, if she did something so terrible to you that you absolutely hate her guts, okay, be man enough to show love towards her in front of your kid. To be respectful, even if she's disrespectful. You're the man here, and you're accountable. You're responsible. And so just do your best. Just do your best. This is Christopher Holder. This is real life. I love you guys. Keep it up. I'll talk to you soon.